Rode went and combined a 4K capture card with an XLR interface and threw in some multi-use soft buttons. Can this be the ultimate mixer for streamers?
Welcome back. If you're new around here, my name is Chris, this is Coalition Gaming, and I like to teach you guys about repairing, setting up, and streaming from your PC. If you're into that sort of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos.
Rode has a pretty solid reputation in the audio world and has recently started focusing on more streamer-specific type of hardware. So they sent this over for us to check out, and I have to say, I really like the idea of what they're trying to attempt with this. With that said, let's go over some quick specs. The StreamerX has the ability to capture up to 4K 30 while passing through 4K 60. Rode's Revolution preamp, which they advertise to have very low noise with 76 decibels of gain, so that dynamic mics like the Shure SM7B or Electro Voice RE20 wouldn't need an inline gain booster. Multi-use soft buttons that can be used for soundboard, voice effects, censoring, and even MIDI control. Capability to run XLR or quarter-inch microphones via its XLR combo jack. Capability to use both the mic and headphones of TRRS combo jack headsets using this 3.5mm combo jack. And this one is super nice for streamers using a 2PC setup. It has a second USB Type-C output to route all audio from the StreamerX for a second computer to use. Lastly, it has a Q20 thread right on the bottom for you to mount this to arms, stands, or even tripods. But the StreamerX also integrates with Rode's Unify software on your computer, which lets you configure the soft buttons, effects, assign things to various virtual outputs, control individual source volumes, and all sorts of stuff. So let's check that out. So here we are with the StreamerX and my demo setup, connected to my laptop, hooked to my Canon EOS M6 Mark II in 4K, capturing at 4K. It's actually like downsampling to 1080p in OBS, but it's coming in crystal clear. It actually looks fantastic. The HDMI capture that they built into it is actually quite impressive. Just to give you an example though, because it is a 1080 base canvas in OBS, I'm actually just going to punch in, which would sort of show off the 4K ability of it. And so if we punch in, and this is how it looks if it's punched in, it's still clear with a lot of detail. And I've made no other adjustments other than just, running my camera with its Sigma 18-35 lens at f1.8, just exposure adjustments and white balance and stuff like that. But that said, it looks good. I feel like the HDMI capture quality is pretty flawless. Now, it also has an HDMI output, so if you wanted to see what you're capturing pass through to a monitor or something like that, let's say if you're connecting a console through this, for example, and you wanted a game on a TV or it's just a separate screen, then what you're looking at in OBS, the pass-through that's built into it will allow for that as well. But this is the live demo portion, so let's show off a little bit of what it can do. So as you can see in the top corner that there is the device itself. If you wanted to switch between the different input methods that there is, because there is headset microphone, there is microphone, and there is the wireless microphones that you can pair, you just press down on the left button right here just like that. Now it's on the headset that runs the mic, and then you go to here, and now it's on the Rode wireless mic that you would pair to this device. But we're going to leave it on pink, which is the color that I have assigned to it, and that is what we'll be using for the rest of the stream. Now, because this is a bit of a combo device, you do get some extra functionality on it, which is actually really great for content creators and streamers and anybody wanting to use this in their setup. The mic mute button will mute any microphone input device, that be the microphone, the headset, or the wireless ones, like as previously mentioned. Just we bring the mic back just like that. But what makes this interesting, and the reason I mentioned it being a combo device, is that it also has a video mute on it. So if I tap the video mute, there you go, video is gone. If you need to hide the camera for a second, you can just press that button, but you can still hear. So you can independently mute the video and independently mute the audio right on the device itself, which is a neat little trick. Now I have my headphones plugged into the device as well, so I can actually control how what I'm hearing through it. So like I have my game audio and all that other stuff configured. I have like a basic configuration in OBS for this, and you do it right here. Just like you can see how it kind of the light goes up and down depending on where it's at on the level. That's actually kind of neat looking. and then just tap to mute, just like that. Now don't tap the microphone knob to mute, because that's not what it does. Use the button instead. Tapping to mute won't tap to mute, but tapping it will just move it over to the next microphone input device. So you don't want to do that if you can help it. But you may be wondering about the soft buttons on it. Now, if you tap this, you see them changing color. Now you may be asking yourself, what about these soft buttons on here? If you press on the buttons here, you see that they change colors. If they have a color, they have something assigned to them. So for example, I think just by default, some of the stuff that it had is like this air horn. Everybody loves a good air horn, right? Now, the difference that this has over some other devices is that these are actually pretty good quality pads. So I can tap it once, right? And if you're using something like SoundPad on a Streamdeck and you tap the button, it just starts the effect over again, but there's a slight delay, so it's not like a real soft button like it would on one of these ones. For example, I could do this. It's really sensitive, and it's not like a big tactile push on the button. It really is just like a little tap. But you also get like the bleep button. And the cool thing about that one is actually interrupt everything. So if you're playing music or other stuff on it, you can just say, and you didn't hear me actually say those things. They've also included configurable voice changer stuff. So I could tap that button and it's pitched me up and done something funny. I can untap it, that'll turn it off. I tap the next one over and I get this deep, dark voice. Yeah, hello out there. And then I turn it back off just like that. Now, tapping over to other buttons, you get obviously other stuff that they've built into it, but it's all configurable, and I'll show you how to do that right now. But some of the other stuff, some music that's built into it, and I can stop that. So you can do things where it's push to play, push to start, and then push to stop. It's nice that it has that functionality built in, right? Right. No. That's enough applause. We all make some bad jokes sometimes, but it's awesome that they included that button too. I'm very used to hearing that one actually, and this one. That's kind of just the basics of using it and running through it really quickly. Let me show you on the software side how things look. And this is the Rode Unify software. It's been making waves as being pretty good software for this, but a little quirk that I noticed is that unless the software itself is running, whether in the background, minimized, or just hanging out somewhere, in the tray, for example, stuff won't work right. You need the software running to have the full functionality of the StreamerX. So if you pick up one of these devices, just remember that. It's not too much of a deal breaker. Basically, any device like this has the software running in the background, namely like Elgato. Everything Streamdeck is running in the background, for example. My Avermedia Nexus also has software running in the background. It is what it is. But continuing about the soft buttons here, as you can see on the right side of the software, you see air horn, sensor, pitch up, voice disguise. If you were to click one of those, you get all these options and you can get all the different things that you can do with it. So pitch up, you can change the color of the button on that bar right there. If you click here, there's reverb adjustments that you can make. If you click on this one, there's an echo adjustment you can make as well. Megaphone adjustment. Then here's the voice changing stuff. There's the robot voice stuff. There's voice disguise. And then we have pitch shift, which is the one that we're on right now. Let's check out voice disguise real quick. We're going to go to FX and I'm just going to play with it, show you guys how it is in like real world usage, for example. So I'm in voice disguise. That one shows that it's on. And you can just flip that one off right there. Apparently there isn't too much to do with voice disguise. So, all right, cool. But if we wanted to play around with it and make it a different kind of a robot effect, we could also just flip that on. And then I'm going to press the button that's actually already on. So this is probably how it sounds. On, off. Yeah. Rabble, rabble, rabble. Yo, yo, yo. But we have voice disguise. Back to this. Okay, anyways, continuing. So now I'm going to press the change page button and you see the colors change, and on the software you also see how things change right there. And you see applause, trombone, crickets. We're going to go again, and now we have empty boxes here. So if I were to click one of these and I wanted to make my own sound effect and put it in there, I can just click choose file right on there and select it from the list. They support WAV, BWF, MP3, you know, the general ones. And then now once you have it in there, you can configure hold to play that one. You can have it loop. and so on and so forth. But another cool function of the soft buttons is, other than the sound effects, other than the voice effects, other than mixer things like the sensor button and stuff like that, which I've already mentioned, you also get MIDI control. Now, I'm not too versed in MIDI stuff, so trying to configure the MIDI buttons to be certain commands or things like that, well, that'll give you control in things like Atom and other softwares like that. But if you were to do an OBS MIDI plugin, you could also configure this to be all changing your scenes and stuff in OBS. Now, that'll require somebody who knows a little bit more about MIDI than your average person in order to configure these values correctly to allow for that. But if you know how to do that, it's pretty straightforward. You set a MIDI button, and then using the OBS plugin, you tell that button to change to what specific scene, and thus you have different buttons for different scenes. And that will turn this a little bit into more of a Streamdeck-like device with a built-in interface and a built-in capture card, which is amazing. But if that functionality was just default, and I didn't have to do all this MIDI stuff with it, and I could just assign a scene to a button freely in the software, that would be way better. So it looks like it only gives you 4 pages worth of stuff though. If I go past 4, it just goes back to 1. I'm not sure if there's a way to add pages, but if there is, hopefully Rode adds that in a later update. Now you also have additional configurability like here. It will have, you can set it for stream, set it for headphones, set it for chat. It'll have different configs. I just like using stream and then configuring how I want it from there. Especially if you also have a camera with HDMI input going into this thing, because you'll want to mute that. Otherwise, the microphone from your camera will pick up in this. Mute that so you don't get any feedback or echo. And then, you have your virtual input. So I have chat, browser, game, music. So you can, in the Windows mixer, then assign specific things to specific outputs there, and then you can adjust the volumes of those independently. Now, you technically could already do that in the Windows sound mixer. So you can see here, I could adjust the volume of just Firefox or just OBS or just system sounds. But this puts it all together here, and then you could also set your routing as well. So Firefox is already set to go to the Rode Unifies browser output. If you have Spotify, you can set that one to music, and that way your browser and your music will play at their own independent volumes on their own independent virtual outputs. So that's nice. One thing I noticed though is that you don't really get submixes. So you're only really controlling the absolute volume, not different volume to your headphones versus different volume to your stream. I suspect, especially looking at the other app that Rode has called Rode Central, but that one's not really the main one to use with a device like this, but it does show a little extra configurability there. I suspect that Rode is going to be working on adding submixes to that, so then streamer mode can have dual output, essentially one to you and one to your stream. We're not quite there yet, unfortunately, so that gives programs like Wavelink software, even the newer free SteelSeries Sonar, or even the Livestreamer Nexus Creator Central software, it gives that a little bit of an advantage, but they're building something here, and it's obvious where they're going with it. So just give it time. I'm sure we're going to see that. If that's something that you need right now, then maybe that's not exactly the thing that you're looking for. But then maybe you can just pair this with the free SteelSeries Sonar software that does have submixes, and then you can sort of play around with it there if this device is something that you really want, but you also really want submixes, because there really isn't any other device on the market that could do what this device does the way that it does it. It's really powerful and it's really nice. Now bear with me here real quick for this infinite window of OBS. I want to show you the audio mixer setup that I did for this one. I've set up the audience mix, which according to this would be the stream input, Rode Unify, and that is everything mixed down into that one channel. That's including voice. Now, I really do want a way to exclude the microphone from the audience mix, because then that would allow me to add the microphone separately and apply any extra effects that I would want to simply on that source alone. But as it is right now, that's something you'd have to do in the Rode software, and I'll go back to that in just a second to show you that. Then that's pretty much it, because once you have that in there, you don't need to add a game audio source. You don't need to add Windows sources or anything else. Everything's going through that source. So in OBS, that's all you need to have. You don't need your default desktop audio in there or anything like that. It's all going to eventually go, once you have it all configured, routed into the Rode Unify and then out into the audience mix, as it said, the stream input. Back here with the software real quick though, like I mentioned about the microphone and effects though, you're not going to be able to do that independently in OBS, but you will be able to go into the microphone, click it, and then you get the extra options on here. You can also control how much extra gain, whether that's on the knob or, you can adjust it right there. You can turn on 48-volt phantom power if you have a condenser mic you wanted to use with this. There's also a button on the device itself. Instrument mode if you're plugging in an instrument instead of a microphone. But then you can turn on processing, and that will allow some degree of EQ on there. And then we turn that off, and that's how it sounds without the processing. But then you can click advanced, and then here we go. Then you get a noise gate. Then you get a compressor. Then you get an exciter. Then you get a high pass filter. Then you get an actual equalizer instead of just simple processing. De-esser, that's actually super nice. You can mess with the panning, and that's all the effects that you have on there. So it's actually not too big of a deal that you can't separately add the microphone in OBS on it when you can apply all these kinds of effects right inside of Unify on the microphone. Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. But we're running this microphone raw right now. So if you like the way this one sounds, it's the Samson Q9X. Now, a cool thing that you can do in the software as well, if you're a 2PC setup person, is you can control the volume of the output that is mixed out going out to the second PC. That's this one right here, StreamerX USB 2. The second USB port on the back of the device, you can control that volume right here, whatever's going out that direction if you have anything plugged in. So that's actually kind of neat that in a 2PC setup, you don't have to reach over to adjust volumes over on that side. If you needed to bring down absolute volume of everything that is going to that system, you just do it right here inside the software, just like that. Anyways, let's get back down to the desk. With all that said, I did have some struggles. The software gave me some quirks. Sometimes it wouldn't properly connect to the soft touch button side of things, so I couldn't change their config without first unplugging and powering down to StreamerX, then plugging it all back in. Speaking of power, even if you turn your PC off, this thing just stays fully lit like it's ready to use. If you sleep in the same room that you have this setup in, that's going to be a very distracting problem. But I worry that constantly being lit may result in some degree of shortened lifespan on the lighting. They don't need to be on when the computer is off or set to sleep. So let's hope Rode updates this to accommodate for that. I also want to reiterate that the soft buttons need some kind of infinite page setting or expand to a higher limit. And most importantly, native support for using the soft buttons directly in OBS to change scenes, toggle filters, toggle sources, all that good stuff. Again, I also want the Rode Unify software to support submixes, different audio control for what you hear in your headset versus what Stream hears, like it should be. It seems like it should be part of this package. Overall, I like this device, but at $399, it's a little rich for my blood. I know the HDMI capture on it makes it next level, but I don't know if $399 is the right price for what it offers. At that price, I'd like to see a few knobs or faders to control various virtual output levels. That might make it more like the Procaster though, but the Procasters don't have HDMI capture. Maybe $299 would be a little more justifiable. That said, if you can take advantage of its various functionalities like the MIDI control, Rode wireless microphone capabilities, and 2PC setup advantage it has, then maybe it's not a bad deal to you. Who am I to say? You do you. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss a single upload. Also, I stream to Twitch every Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/CoalitionChris. So if you want to talk more PC gaming and streaming tech or gear, come to the stream and hang out. My name is Chris, and I've been your stream technician. See you in the next one.